Hello, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for tuning in. Today we are diving into a very serious development that has stirred emotions across the country. The health minister has made a revelation that many are calling a recipe for disaster when it comes to the care of undocumented migrants in South Africa. Before we get into all the details, I'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button and stay with me right till the end so that you can hear the sources of this news for yourself and verify what has been reported. Now, this is not just any ordinary update. The health sector in South Africa has been struggling for years, and many of us have either seen it firsthand or experienced it ourselves. Long queues at clinics, overcrowded hospitals, and limited resources have become the norm. Nurses and doctors are stretched thin, medicine sometimes run out, and patients often wait hours, even days, for proper care. Against this already fragile backdrop, the health minister's recent statement about undocumented migrants has sparked a wave of debate. According to the minister, the growing number of undocumented migrants seeking healthcare in public facilities is putting immense pressure on the system. He suggested that if the situation continues unchecked, South Africa could face what he described as a looming disaster. Now, that's a very strong word to use, and it's one that has caught the attention of ordinary citizens, activists, and political leaders alike. The reality is that South Africa's constitution guarantees the right to healthcare to all who live within the country, regardless of their status. On paper, this sounds noble, but in practice, it has created tension. Many South Africans feel that the system is buckling because it was never designed to accommodate both citizens and undocumented migrants in such large numbers. The minister's revelation speaks to that frustration and the need for urgent solutions. When you speak to patients on the ground, some will tell you they arrive at a clinic at 5 in the morning, only to be seen by midday or sometimes even sent home without assistance. Others complain that critical treatments, like dialysis or surgery, are delayed because resources are simply not enough. The question that keeps coming up is whether the government has a clear plan to balance its constitutional obligations with the hard reality of limited resources. The health minister pointed out that in provinces like Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo, hospitals near border posts are especially under pressure. Facilities in these regions are overwhelmed by patients who cross into South Africa seeking free treatment. He warned that unless something changes, both citizens and migrants could suffer, and the healthcare system may not recover from the strain. Now, let's be clear. This is not just a South African issue. Around the world, countries struggle with how to handle the healthcare needs of undocumented migrants. Some nations have put strict barriers in place, while others have created separate healthcare channels for migrants to prevent overloading the main system. South Africa, however, finds itself caught in a unique position. With its open-door constitutional promise and its proximity to countries facing economic hardships, migration is constant. That means the problem is unlikely to go away anytime soon. The minister's words have also stirred up political debate. Groups like Operation Dugula and others who have been vocal about illegal migration see this as confirmation of what they have been warning about. They argue that South African citizens should be prioritized and that government must act fast to protect local services. On the other side, human rights activists caution against demonizing migrants, reminding the public that they too are human beings who often come here fleeing hardship and simply seeking survival. So, where does this leave the ordinary South African who just wants to walk into a clinic and get the help they need without waiting all day? It leaves us in a tough spot, and that's exactly why this revelation has been described as a recipe for disaster. The minister has essentially admitted that the system is at breaking point, but what's less clear is what the plan will be going forward. Will government try to tighten access? Will they negotiate agreements with neighboring countries? Or will the situation be left to worsen until it reaches boiling point? In the meantime, healthcare workers on the front lines continue to face the brunt of the crisis. Nurses working 12-hour shifts without enough staff, doctors who must choose between which patients to treat first, and administrative staff dealing with angry patients who just want to be seen. It is a daily reality that's becoming harder to manage. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, maybe the minister is just raising the alarm so that action can be taken sooner rather than later. That could be true, but South Africans are used to hearing big warnings without seeing real changes. Remember how many times we've been told about fixing load shedding or tackling corruption? It's always promises, but the delivery falls short. So, it's no wonder people are skeptical. For now, citizens are calling for more transparency. They want to know how much of the health budget is being spent on undocumented migrants, how the government plans to address the imbalance, and what measures will be put in place to ensure citizens don't lose out. Without clear answers, people fear that this so-called recipe for disaster will become a reality sooner rather than later. Before I wrap up, let me just lighten the mood a little because this has been a heavy one. You know, South Africans have a way of making jokes out of even the toughest situations. Some people are saying maybe the minister should stop calling it a recipe for disaster and instead just call it a PEP recipe, because it's the same old ingredients: overworked staff, overcrowded hospitals, and not enough budget, just served again and again. Another joke making the rounds is that waiting at a public clinic is like waiting for a taxi during a rainstorm. You're never sure if it will come, but you still stand there with hope. On a more serious note though, this is an issue that affects all of us, and it's one that cannot be ignored. The health minister has raised the alarm, and now the ball is in government's court to show whether they can actually turn things around. That's where I will leave it for today. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay updated with the latest developments. And remember to stay tuned right till the end so you can check the sources yourself and verify everything we've discussed. All images used in this video are for illustration purposes only. Sources of today's news: Times Live, News 24, and Daily Maverick.